This is something I wanted to do for quite some time now, to hang up pictures on the wall of cover sleeves. So about a week ago I finally managed to do it, and they all represent genres that have been important to me through the years, musical genres that have formed my musical collection, my musical interest through the years. We have the 80s, represented by French group Indochine, their album L'Aventurier, French synth pop, you might say. Benny Goodman represents the jazz with this sextet masterpiece release. Don't worry, all of these are duplicates that I already have. 70s represents by 10cc, How Dare You. I didn't take a 70s soul record because I didn't have a duplicate of a 70s soul. So 70s soul is part of the 70s here. So, and plus that also U96 album Heaven, that represents the 90s and the 90s dance music. A smaller picture because it is a cover sleeve of a CD, of course. So I'm very satisfied with this. The work took me a while to get them this in the same level. Hello there, everybody. That was something I did during this week, and that I think became really, really good. So I'm very, very satisfied with that. I have some space on another wall here, so I might do another, put up another picture if necessary. So, but I'm very satisfied with the work I did a couple of days ago. This is a vinyl CD update for November. Months keep spinning. And November, I thought first was a so-so month again, but looking at what I have to show, it wasn't all that bad actually. It was a pretty good month yet still. So I had to change my mind and realize that it worked pretty well during this month of November. So let's start. I have a whole lot of CDs for a very, very specific reason, and also some pretty good stack of vinyl and some singles that I'm going to start with. It's going to be a whole lot of Swedish music, so I hope you can bear with that. Drummer Man, an EP released on the Swedish, distributed on the Swedish Carousel, with Gene Krupa and Anita O'Day with these 4 songs. Swedish singer Anita Lindblom, and 4 different, an EP with 4 different songs. Among them, one of her absolute biggest hit, Sånt är livet, which is a Swedish version of You Can Have Her. And also Nej, jag ångrar ingenting. This is a Swedish version of Edith Piaf song No, je ne regrette rien. So let's move on to a big stack of CDs. Here's a CD that I actually forgot to show. And I think it is that important that I think I should show it. This is a live album, a live concert from on the radio. So it's released by the radio station with Stevie Nicks. Live 86, Widsport, New York. And singing all these songs. Among them, Rhiannon, the old classic Fleetwood Mac track. I've heard this. It's pretty good concert. A really good concert. So I don't know how hard it is to find this one, but very extremely fun to have. We have Gwen Guthrie, 80s soul singer that made some good hits, but never was all that big. Her biggest song is on this album, Good to Go Lover. Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent. So I give it a chance. Now, a lot of, not only Swedish, but most are Swedish. And only for that, we start with the Norwegian album. But this is Norwegian group Secret Garden, who won the Eurovision Song Contest back in 1994, I think. Yes, 94. With the song Nocturne. And is one of the most underrated Eurovision winners, actually. I think it's an extremely well done folk music song. And this is like kind of almost symphonic folk music songs. It's extremely relaxing. You might call it almost ambient music. And extremely well made. So I'm definitely going to keep this one. A double... a box set with two albums, two CDs with Swedish singer Eva Dahlgren, and a box called För minnenas skull, for the sake of memories, 1978 to 1992. More compilations. One of my absolute favorite Swedish singers, Lisa Nilsson, and a compilation called 20 Lisa Nilsson, en jubileumssamling, a Jubilee compilation with all of her hits. And this is also Lisa Nilsson, but not a real compilation, even though there are some songs here that it's both a compilation and new songs. Ingen gör det bättre, and as you can see, autograph, and pretty new stuff here. We have George Michael and Queen with Lisa Stansfield's 5 Live, the famous EP. Finally found it. We have Dexter Gordon and a Giants of Jazz release, Dexter Gordon Quartet 1955 to 67. More Swedish music. Swedish singer Mauro Scocco, that I like very, very much. Little pop soul and fantastic, soft and well made. This is two more modern albums. One called Ljudet av tiden som går, the sound of the time that moves. And I also found this one that is from 2013. It's a Christmas album. Årets julklapp från Mauro Scocco. The Christmas present of the year from Mauro Scocco. He has written his own Christmas songs. And now to the interesting stuff. We have a thrift store here in Sundsvall called Återbruket, a place where you can rent a place and in the thrift store, and they sell it for you. However, if you give up the contract and don't want to sell there anymore and don't pick up your stuff, they have a wagon outside of the thrift store that says you can pick for free those stuff. And now all of a sudden they actually put up for free CDs, CD records, very fresh ones from someone who hadn't, a seller that hadn't picked them up. So I picked up all these for free. And then, of course, I'm not going to say that all of these are going to survive here and survive the culling here. Some of these might be just pure crap, but it's why not? For free, you can take home and give it a shot, and then if it's not good, you give them away. So I picked up one CD single, Janet Jackson's "All for You," that I actually didn't have. We have here an artist called Simone Heinz. I have no idea who this is. So this one is can't call it a blind buy since I didn't buy them, but it's completely chance. The Best of Sade. This one I most likely keep, and they are actually in really great shape for something that actually is given away for free. So I was very, very surprised. Gloria Estefan, Into the Light, all for free. 2 albums with Olita Adams, Moving On, and these are 90s releases with Olita Adams. And we have Olita Adams' Evolution from 93. We have Vanessa Williams, The Sweetest Days from 94. Nothing but high hopes for this one. The Course, Talk of Corners. Swedish group Da Buzz, some dance pop from the early 00s. Their debut album, Da Sound. When this band came, I thought that they were pretty little too uninteresting. The dance sound was pretty boring, but I realized that they actually were pretty good. I'm not going to say that these are something for the Polar Prize actually, but still it's pretty easy listened and very very light and very very relaxing actually to listen to. So I have 3 albums now with Da Buzz. Swedish singer Tommy Nilsson and En kvinnas man from 94. This is Annika Ljungberg, and if you recognize her, yes, she was the female singer in Rednecks, you know, Cotton Eye Joe. But this album, the quick peeks I've heard of it, is far from Rednecks. It's more like singer-songwriter style, and I think she's a whole lot better here than Rednecks actually is, the little I've heard, so it's going to be very very interesting. Soundtrack for the movie Color of Night with Bruce Willis and Jane Mars. Seen this album, I've seen this movie, and I think it has been given horrible reviews, but I think it is a little bit underrated. I think it is not the best Thriller I've seen, but it's okay actually. It's not all that horrible, so it's fun to have the soundtrack of it. Here, a couple of albums that I have listened to quick peeks, and I realized that these are not going to stay in the collection. They were not as good as I hoped. Something called New Soul Habits. I had no idea who these were, but it was pretty boring soul funk style. This album is from '94, released on Motown, but it was pretty uninteresting. Same goes with Sweetbox. I'm not going to say that it was bad, but it was something that, okay. Sweetbox is a German project that made some kind of a European hip hop style, where they took classical music pieces, classical music songs, and did some rap on it, and some hip hop style. The hip hop songs based on classical masterpieces. Most famous here was Everything's Gonna Be Alright, that they have built around Bach's Air, and that one is a really good track. However, the rest of the songs, some are okay, pretty good, but I don't think it is all that good that I feel that I need an entire album with them. I have Everything's Gonna Be Alright on CD single, and I think that is quite enough actually. I bought this one, Sheena Easton, Fabulous. Sorry, Adam 87, but I thought this. I have many Sheena Easton's albums that are really good, but this one I thought was pretty horrible. Some 70s covers in some modern 70s disco style that I thought was pretty horrible. So this one will unfortunately not stay in the collection. This is a singer that I never heard of, Beverly Knight, but it is some kind of a. This is released in 1998, and looked interesting. It is some kind of a modern 90s soul, but it was pretty uninteresting. There are better artists in the same genre, Brandy, Monica, TLC, for instance. This was pretty boring, so most likely stay in collection, not stay in collection. And an album that made me disappointed. I have high hopes for this one, but the quick peeks made me think that no, this was not interesting. Sonique, who was the vocalist in S-Express once, the British House project. This is Hear My Cry, which also contains the best songs, the singles that she had. It Feels So Good, I Put a Spell on You. And I thought it was pretty good, but the rest of the songs were extremely boring and uninteresting melodies. It didn't grab me one bit, so this one will not stay in the collection. So it was a very interesting CD month with CDs for free. That doesn't happen every month. So I guess I have to keep checking in that wagon with free stuff outside of that thrift store. Vinyl, the Detroit Spinners, and a self-titled album from 1973, containing Could It Be I'm Falling in Love. Listen to this one, and it is a really, really great 70s soul album, highly recommended. We have a a very interesting one. I've shown once before a French pianist called Jacques Louzier, who plays jazz arrangements of classical music, or he takes classical music and put them in a jazz style. There he played the Goldberg variations. Here he continues playing Bach songs, but here he plays a couple of Bach's organ works and put them in a jazz trio with Christian Garot drums and Pierre Michelot bass, and it is very, very interesting, very relaxing, and very special. I really think it is one of the more special jazz albums that I have, and I really think it's an extremely good one. So looking forward to find more of this one. We have Pete Johnson, Master of Blues and Boogie, 1904 to 1967. He's a boogie woogie pianist, and I'm not all that fan of boogie woogie, but I felt like, why not? Some tracks here contains Hot Lips Page and Bud Johnson, two real jazz greats. So it's going to be very, very interesting. More jazz. This is Andy Kirk and 12 Clouds of Joy. And Andy Kirk and his 12 Clouds of Joy are one of these big bands that were a little bit outside those classic ones, Ellington, Basie, Dorseys, and so on. But I really like Andy Kirk. He has a special sound, a special some special music that I really, really like. So it's really fine. Every time I find Andy Kirk albums, I don't have all that much of them. I have two only before. Released on Ace of Hearts label. I was at Red Cross in Kvissleby. I showed picture of us where I was at during summertime, and I was there again now. And they had actually gotten in a whole lot of soul albums, some 70s, but also some 80s albums. This is a band Freeze, most known for the song I O U. This is an album called Antifreeze, early material re-released, revamped and remixed of Patrick O'Duffy. I have listened to this one and I was a bit disappointed. It was mostly instrumental, no problem with that, but didn't contain all that much melodies, and it was pretty lame. So I'm not sure that this one will actually stay in the collection. I prefer to find the more famous Freeze albums. And I did some that I actually I don't usually do blind buys with the full lengths, but here it was released on Motown, so why not? Major Lance and Now Arriving from 1978, and listen to quick peeks, and it sounds really, really interesting, funky 70s soul. Howard Hewitt, one of the former members of Shalamar, and I Commit to Love, containing a song called I On You that I heard before as a kid. This one is from 1986. 70s again. This is a soundtrack from a movie called Fast Break. I've never heard of it, but from the pictures I assume it's a basketball movie. This is Billy Preston and Sarita, and this is from 1979, so it contains their huge hit With You I'm Born Again. This summer in Uppsala, I showed that when I bought my first albums with the Emotions, and right now I managed to find my second album with the Emotions, Rejoice, from 1977, containing their big hit Best of My Love. And this is of course produced by Morris White from Earth, Wind and Fire. So this one I have nothing but high hopes for. Omar, most famous for a 90s song called There's Nothing Like This, that actually are really, really good. So it's going to be interesting to hear how... This is not that album, it is album before that, I think. And it's going to be very, very interesting to actually listen to. This one was a little bit of a mistake, but still I have to keep this album. This looks pretty good. Sometimes I'm a little bit of a rush when it comes to albums. You get excited, I gotta have that one, and all of a sudden you realize that maybe I should have checked a little bit better. Stan Getz and J.J. Johnson, the Modern Jazz Quartet, and Oscar Peterson, live at the Opera House. I have some EPs with these, so it felt like, wow, now I have the full album. And from October 19th, 1957 in Chicago at the Opera House. And looks pretty interesting, all except for the fact that I didn't realize until I got home that it's supposed to be a double LP set. How, I don't know, because there's not all that much space here. So I don't understand where the second album should fit in. But only contains one of the albums. And it is that album with Stan Getz and J.J. Johnson. So I was thinking, what should I do? It's not the complete album, but then I thought that still it is a live album with Stan Getz and J.J. Johnson, and it's not often you find that. So I will keep it, at least until I find the real one with both albums. This one is very interesting. This is Oscar Peterson and Joe Pass. Oscar Peterson and Joe Pass playing Porgy and Bess, and Oscar Peterson playing clavichord, which is some kind of a version of harpsichord. It's not a piano, it's not a harpsichord, it's something between, you might say. And it is an early instrument. And they're playing Oscar, Porgy and Bess in a recording released on Pablo, and recording from 1976, produced by Norman Granz. Some really early jazz, Jelly Roll Morton, Dr. Jazz. I'm no fan of Dixieland music, but I think that Jelly Roll Morton's and his Red Hot Chili Peppers are actually really interesting and good. It's kind of a late 20s jazz is very, very interesting. So this one will definitely stay in the collection. Ella Fitzgerald and Count Basie, a perfect match. Another Pablo release. This one is from the recordings are from 1979. Recorded in Switzerland actually. And finally, a compilation that I couldn't resist. This is music of Cole Porter, played by America's Greatest Jazzman. And the title sounds like it could be a compilation with the most ordinary names, playing the most ordinary songs. But when I looked at it, it was, even though the sleeve was pretty banged up, it looks very interesting because it contains modern jazz quartets, Stan Getz, Gene Ammons, Frank West, Coleman Hawkins, Shirley Scott, Billy Taylor, Jill Evans, Red Garland. So it's with exception from Coleman Hawkins, is these bebop names all over. And I listened to it, and it's very, very good actually. So even if it looks very low budget, it is very, very, very highly recommended. So that was my November. Very satisfied. Let's now see what December has to offer. I have a video I'm going to make with where I'm showing a collection from a certain artist that I have a lot of records with coming up, and hopefully a whole lot more. You're not forgetting to ask questions for my Q&A. So you can ask questions either in my Q&A video. You can ask it here if you want to. I take notes, of course, or in the reminder video that comes up. So until next time, I hope that each and every one of you have a really nice time. So take care, and so long.